Morning, Vicky. How are you?
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Very good. Very good. Thanks. Let's see who. I realise it's half term this week, so see
Yeah.
come and join us will be an interesting one. How have you been?
Yeah, good, thank you. Yeah, really good. Yeah. Nice and I don't have children, so I'm fine with half terms. The traffic so much better.
Oh yeah, traffic is amazing. I feel like I don't have children during half term now because they're all in bed and keep themselves well out of the way, so I can do what I want. Actually, generally that happens now, which is awesome.
They'll have appreciated the extra hour then at the weekend.
Yeah, most definitely. Awesome. While we're waiting for others to arrive. Oh, hi Lisa, how are you?
Morning. Very well, thank you. You?
Very good. Very good.
Good, good. It's very windy here. Extremely windy. What's it like where you are, Vicky?
Yeah, same.
Is it?
I'm only in Kirkleatham, so yeah.
Ah, there you go. Windy.
I've got blue skies and yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say completely still, but definitely not very windy.
Where are you, Hugo?
St Albans.
Oh, nice. Nice. Yeah. Yeah. The weather is more relaxed down there than it is in the north.
Yeah. So we used to live up in Manchester.
Yeah.
We actually moved out to Glossop. So we were right on the edge of the peak. And in Glossop, I just used to wake up in the weather every morning throughout winter.
Yeah.
Which is actually one of the reasons why we moved down south was I was trying to get away from it. Morning, Joey. Morning, Sangeeta.
Morning.
Morning, morning.
Awesome. Welcome, everybody. So, Lisa, Vicky, I'm interested in how your AI journey has been going. I know that Sangeeta and Joe were on a call last week where we were talking about N8N workflows. And so it'd be good for us to just go around, I think, and just do a quick update of the sorts of practices that we have been exploring, where we've been finding AI useful, where it's been blowing our mind, where it's frustrating the hell out of us. Everything and anything is up for grabs. And then depending on where you are, I might get Sangeeta and Joe to give you an update on last week's session and what they learned from that for a bit of peer learning.
Yeah.
And then we'll see where I decide to take it from that point. So I'm going to start with Vicky. You were here first, early and eager. So I'm going to start with you if you want to kind of give an update of kind of where you have got on your AI journey.
So obviously from the very beginning, it was all really, really new to me. So I've used it like quite a lot more. So even me and Lisa were at a conference the other day and used it to help in like one of the sessions that I was like part of. And then to create like a movement bingo card that we were doing. And then Lisa, I don't think you were in the session that I did with Victoria, but this is where AI went wrong because we produced the bingo cards, we were doing the movements, and then in the first one we were like doing the hula hoop bit that we were like doing, we were acting things out, and people had to like mark it off their bingo card. Just like for a bit of fun. And then so me and one of my other colleagues was like pretending to do the hula hoop, and everyone's looking at us like really, really strange. Like, why are you both stood there doing that? And we were like, it's a hula hoop, it's hula. And like, no, it's not on the card.
It's not on the card. It's all about movement and getting movement into your everyday work. If anybody's wondering what the heck we were doing at the conference.
This is what happens.
So we had used AI, so we've like got some different like movements that you can do at your desk and things like that, and we were acting them out, and people had to get them off the bingo card, and AI just forgot about the hula hoop one. So it was on our list, but not on the bingo card.
Another side.
So it's like, right, okay, lesson learned there.
Check your work. AI's great, but check your work.
Yeah. But it was just so funny how everyone just like looked at us like, what are they actually doing? We didn't know if it was our kind of really bad acting.
Amazing.
So that's just kind of like anecdotal stuff, really, of how I've ended up using it this week. But yeah, with one of my other colleagues, we're setting up like some AI Trailblazer things to be able to integrate it. I think obviously you've been working with Jamie as well a little bit, haven't you, Hugo? So kind of involved in setting them sessions up as well and getting sort of wider colleagues involved in that as well. So yeah, that'll be exciting.
Amazing. And Lisa, how about you?
Well, I seem to by default have become the AI person to go to for advice, which is a bit ironic considering I'm not very techie. But I use it every day now. There isn't a day that goes by that I don't. For example, yesterday I'm running a course for several local authorities around modern slavery and county lines. And although I know it very well, I thought, let's just use a little bit of AI. I use Lustra actually, and I put some data into Lustra to pull out the salient points, which saved me hours of time really, and able to put that into a PowerPoint presentation with notes attached to it, which was great. I had some reports that I had a board report to write the other day, so I thought, let's use a little bit of Gemini. I really like Gemini after my last session with you guys. I just like the way it talks. It's very much my language. So what normally would take me probably 2 to 3 hours took me about an hour, which was great. And again, using a bit of Lustra, putting organisational data in to be able to draw out and then benchmark it against operational performance. Perfect. So I think that's how I'm using it at the moment. But it's become my go-to friendly service. But as you know, joking aside, checking the work after it's been written, because it still needed to hear my voice in it, and it can sound very robotic when you pull it out of AI documents. So I think that's the lesson that I'm now trying to refine what I've got, but put my own voice through it. I think that's where I'm at.
Awesome. And Michael, how about you? We're just going through kind of where we are on the AI journey so far.
Yeah, I'm.
Sorry, I've just clicked the wrong button there. Hang on 1 second. Yeah, you unmute yourself. Good.
Yeah, sorry, I'm probably running a little behind, Lisa. But what I've tended to focus on, or had time to focus on recently, is the same. I've been using it essentially to focus on research. So I've had a couple of internal policy documents to do. So looking at audits and security from an IT point of view, and what I find is it helps me get a starting position. So I don't have to worry what the whole framework will look like, or to try and find something that's suitable. Actually, I can ask it a series of questions, refine that, then change that round, and that gives me the material to start working with, and then I basically use it to focus down on each sort of element or component of that. This is right. You do have to check it. It can be the way it comes back to you. Sometimes it's great in it for an executive summary, but where you want to have some of the detail and the context around it, that's the difficult part I have in trying to word something so that it gets me enough basically to get going. I don't know. AI is starting to appear in a lot of the tools that we use by third parties. So in our Meraki network dashboard, it's the same as a Unify. They all have now a great fanfare of AI tools announced in that supposedly help make life easier. Jury's out on that, to be honest. Sometimes there is such a thing as information overload, or you just presenting stuff in too many options. But it's interesting that everybody feels that they need to have that tag in their tool. So even some new vulnerability monitoring tools that I'm looking at, that's forefront on the company's website is to say it's AI driven. Not necessarily too clear on what the AI is delivering, but they all feel that they need to push that message across.
Every software provider is going to be an AI software provider. I mean, I'd hope that any vulnerability scanning company was using AI well before 2022, because all of the machine learning and anomaly detection in that space has been around for a long time, but they won't have been having to sing about it in the same way as they do now. And I think that the interesting thing from the technology point of view is also going to be the procurement and due diligence side of all of that, and actually understanding which AI they're using and what safeguards they're putting in place. So what you need to do in terms of being able to do the review and kind of, that side of checking. Lots of checking has come up so far. Excellent. So, and then Sangeetha, Jo, and Francis, you're on the last call where we're looking at NA10, and I know I'm going to start with you, Sangeetha, because you were keen for the recording.
Well, I did ask for the recording, but I'll be honest, I haven't gone through it yet. I know it was posted yesterday, but I think, like I said, NA10 is a bit more on the technical side for me. It'll be a while before I sink my teeth into it. But my AI journey over last week is just exploring, like you said, third-party AI functionalities. We have platforms like Zoho, RingCentral, and obviously they have this AI receptionist, AI this, AI that. So I'm just exploring what is new with this. It's sometimes it feels like it's just the functionality we've always had with the AI tag on it. But just exploring that. But otherwise, I've created a project brain for some of our projects for knowledge transfer. Nothing else that I've done remarkably. Usual Gemini, ChatGPT usage has become like Googling. So, but otherwise, I haven't progressed.
And and how about you, Francis?
Good. So, what am I doing? I have been using AI to help me get one big thing off my plate, which is to do with accreditation in my profession as a counsellor, which is quite a big step, because going up the ladder would then potentially mean that insurance companies are willing to pay for me to help their clients. And done the hard work. I've done the creative stuff. I've dug deep and all this stuff that we talk about. The thing that was really dragging me down, that was hitting me at my ADHD Achilles tendon, Achilles heel, was just filling in the forms, show how your studies complied with these standards. And so actually using AI into my weekly learning reviews over the years of my course was really helpful, in that it just gave me a list of stuff, and I could say, okay, this is not a good answer, but I can see what a better answer would be. So it was really good at getting me unstuck. Going forward, I've lined up someone that I'm going to be doing a little AI coding exercise with. Hugo, my interest in spectrum development. I'm starting to be able to formulate how the hell I am connecting these two different worlds, counselling and coding, counselling and coaching in the age of AI, and it's to do with understanding, communicating, negotiating our needs. Counselling is our needs as individuals, and coding is our needs as viable organizations.
Awesome.
So-
So that's going to take you into the world of really diving into, I'm guessing, kind of Claude Code and the spec-driven development stuff that you shared with me on GitHub, which I'm going to touch on a little bit later here for people to dive into that particular world. I think Francis just touched on something that I've certainly been finding, which is that I think so. I've got an ADHD mind, which is wonderful and has some challenges to form filling and such tasks that are little hurdles that have been about really transforming information from a mode that's really easy to a mode that is sort of actually going to interface with the way the world has been designed. And from an inclusivity point of view, it's one of the reasons why I think that this technology is such a powerful tool for inclusive design as well. And I think when we're thinking about services, particularly from a charity point of view, that's something really that kind of is a really fascinating area to consider. Joe, how about you? Can't hear you right now, Joe.
That better? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
So I learned a lot the other week about N8N. As I said, I've already been like kind of looking into it, but hadn't pulled the trigger, and I'm still yet to pull the trigger. But one of my worries last time was like seeing the art of the possible with it, and almost realizing how well you could automate some of your workflows. But then one of the worries that came along with that was the fact that, okay, if I'm automating it, I'm almost relinquishing any kind of control and any kind of quality like checks, letting AI just do its thing almost in the background without knowing what's going on. But I was speaking to a chap yesterday, and he said that he's created an N8N workflow, but what he's managed to do throughout the process is almost through like a platform like Telegram or WhatsApp or Slack, he's managed to add a step, which essentially the AI will send what it's produced to you, and you have to give it a yes or no, or you can essentially have like a conversation with it saying, no, change this, and like have that almost quality control check in place before you actually execute on the task. That's actually a good way to automate things, but then also still like maintain control with it and not let it just let loose without you knowing what it's doing in the background. So I found that really useful to know. Now it's just the fact about executing on it and realizing what to do with that. And another small little learning was realizing that, like, I thought that AI was just a bit of a blank slate, but it's like each AI has almost its own personality and its own strengths. I know it sounds really obvious to say now, but for a while I've been trying to like get ChatGPT to convert MP3 files to like voice to written text, and it says, okay, I'll do it for you, just wait here, and then never does it. And I was like, this must be a bug. But then I just thought, okay, well, if Notebook LM can do podcasts, it must be able to do it. And I put it in there, and just with the click of a finger, it just produces it to a written text. I'm like, how can one be so good at something and one be so bad at something? It's a bit of bloody tech. But yeah, it was kind of just like a bit of a reality check. Like, yeah, you can't make assumptions that they all know the same thing. They've got their own strengths and weaknesses, and it's important to kind of interact with each one and realize when you have a certain task to do, which one's strengths does this suit, essentially. And it involves playing around with it.
And that's really, really important. And it keeps changing as well, just to make it a little bit kind of extra dazzle. So right now, Claude's just released Claude for Excel. So it's in pilot at the moment, but certainly if you're doing data work in a spreadsheet, kind of Claude's probably jumped into the sort of lead in terms of which one's going to be best for doing that kind of numeric data type work. And I think you kind of mentioned something else there, Joe, that is really important, is that depending on the job that you are doing, you have a range of tools in this new toolbox, and choosing the right one or ones to create the right solution to get to the outcome. You know, if you need to put a picture on the wall, you need the nail in the picture hook and the hammer and the ladder, so that you can then go and kind of safely go and put the picture on the wall. It's exactly the same thing with this. And it's not a one size fits all solution most of the time. The second thing is that you're always interfacing with products, not AIs. So there is a layer that every company is putting between you and the technology, where they're adding in their own controls. And I think that that's really important to recognize, that unless you're going down an open source route and locally hosting your own model on your own hardware, you're not interfacing with the technology directly. And that means that in ChatGPT, if you try and get it to remove the long M dash in any way, shape, or form, from customizing it to say, I don't want you to put in this long thing that shows that it's AI written, and I don't want you to put a line between each paragraph of text that you produce, it will not produce those. It will not produce the results you expect, because the product is a consumer grade product where they're trying to put in safeguards to ensure that it's identifiable as AI created content. So they think that they're doing something that is useful, that is quite a tactical solution, rather than really thinking about how to make it better for the world in a more holistic view. And so that's not an AI can't remove those things. It's that product has been specifically designed to make it hard for you to do. And each of the products will have their own nuances. And I thought, so last time we sort of started looking at N8N, and that was about the kind of automation and connection of different tools and data, kind of how we actually tie these things together and how we use AI to create automation workflows. I thought it would be good to just show you some of step of what you can do with a tool called Claude Code, which Francis is well aware of, but others probably haven't seen before. And this is going to look like a much more techie tool, but I'm going to show you how I'm going to use it with voice command to be able to create a spec for a new kind of app, just kind of as a quick demo. And the point of this is that what we'll be creating is a document. So the spec is a document, so we're not getting into actually using it for coding. I'm going to show you how I'm tying it together with a note-taking tool that I'm using called Obsidian, which allows us to then have an interface to work with on it, and how this can actually start to take us to another level of productivity if we start tying these things together. So everyone, I believe, is well aware of what we have been doing with kind of OpenAI and Claude. And so this is another, in fact, what I'm going to do is show you this. So this is another example of Claude. And I'm going to go here. So this is Obsidian, and what we're going to see here are some results. So I have been in here doing some work on an operating system for charities. So I've been creating a capability framework that I have been building up using Claude Code. And actually, this is kind of referencing some best practices and kind of considerations of the whole charity sector, looking at similarities and differences across charities. So all of the research has been done, and it's been able to produce some great work that I can then turn into either a strategy deck or a website or anything else that I want to show that I've done some thinking on that. Now, what these files look like in this is a markdown format. And a markdown format is a way of formatting text. So it's easier to read and it's very light for machines to have to process, unlike something like a Word document that's got more underlying extra data to make it into a Word document. So that's why I'm using this tool. The other reason I'm using this is that all of these files are actually stored in a folder on my machine. So behind the scenes, if I am able to show you how this works, here we go. If I zoom that up, in fact, that's not going to be the best thing to do. I'm going to, so here, you will see a folder called AI projects on my computer. And you'll see what we were just looking at there with the AI operating system is here, very small document on my machine, 18 kilobytes, and it's just a single text file. Now, I'll show you why that's important right now. What that's given us is a kind of a window into a world of kind of a very techie thing of just text files on a computer so that we can control it. That means that with Claude Code, we have a tool in our terminal, which is going to allow us to go and control these things. So I am going to now share another window. Lots of window sharing today, which hopefully is going to show you Claude Code. So here's Claude Code. This tool is in the terminal. So I'm on a Mac machine, so you'll see something that looks like a Mac. You can use it on Windows as well. This terminal is actually, I think, one of the big challenges in this journey of AI because it kind of starts to look super techy, right? This is where developers and technologists come to do their work often, and it's where most other people don't spend their time. You can see just the text and everything about it starts to look like tech. But actually, what we're going to do is we're going to be able to give it instructions. I've got a tool on my computer called SuperWhisper, which allows me to talk to my machine instead of typing. So I'm going to say to Claude, let's give a little demo here. I want you to create a folder titled New Audit, and inside New Audit, put subfolders in for session 1, session 2, and session 3. So what this has done is you'll see that that has now kind of taken the text that I've just put in there, put it into this window, and I can go and get that going inside Claude, and it's going, you can kind of see there that it's kind of doing its thinking. If you look at what it's actually writing, it's now actually gone and executed all of the folders actually on my machine. So if we go and I've got to change my directory again. Here we go. So if I go over here, I'm going to show you that I now have this new folder called New Audit with subfolders of session 1, session 2, and session 3. So what I can start to do is extend the capabilities of the AI into doing things where I can kind of start to create folders and create content and start to build it up in a much more complete way than you can with some of the kind of consumer grade tools. So now I can say inside session 1 folder, what I want you to do is to create a spec for a new product, which is going to help us actually visualize the audit results in a nice graph knowledge format. And what I want you to do is start to really deeply analyze what you need to provide in good audit results to present that in a way that is going to be easy to read for an executive audience and is also going to give them an emotional connection to it. And we've got that straight into the computer, and you'll notice the speed of the voice command combined with the power of creating this ability to create new documents and for it to go and actually action here, writing a document, starts to create a new level of power in the tool that can be used in a whole multitude of different contexts. And at the moment, it's going out and using some of its sub-agents. So the way that this tool works is that it's still using Claude like you would if you went to kind of Claude as a desktop version or on the web. But it's actually the way that it is being prompted by Anthropic is specifically designed actually for developers to develop programs. Now, the thing is that whilst its context is for developers, its power can be used by anybody to create any form of text-based document. And the thing with text is it's a really powerful interface because text can be used actually to create images because there are lots of languages that define images. It can be used to design structured briefs to pass on to humans. It can be designed to create structured briefs to pass on to other machines. So it becomes this really incredibly powerful interface. And here we go. So here it is going through, and it has started to structure a brief for me that is kind of going to go and like highlight in a lot of detail all of the all of the requirements of what I've just proposed. Francis, have you been able to see my screen being shared at the moment? Oh no, now I see what you're saying. Here we go, back to sharing. So it's come back and it's done its thinking. And what it's kind of gone through here is you can see it's kind of an emotional connection strategy. It's gone through color psychology and visual design because I've asked it to kind of reference those best practices. And because best practices provide structure for AI, they're really useful for being able to build up to this level of detail. And you'll see here it's kind of goes into kind of dashboards and all sorts of things. And at the bottom, what it does is it actually asks me whether I want to create it. In this case, I'm going to say yes, but it gives me that human in the loop opportunity to control it. And so when I go and say yes to it, it's going to go and write that document. And that document is going to then be put into the folder where we've been getting it to work. And so if I just go and see where it is, let's just show you that. Here we have this document that is the document that was created by it, which contains all of the information. So it feels like a different interface, but it kind of takes some of the work that I think you've been kind of talking about doing, and it takes it to the next level. Now, what's really fascinating as I've been playing with it is that it also creates more of a need for review and check, because it can create a lot. So one of the things that AI is very good at is expanding text, taking that small amount of text I produced, expand it into a lot of text and it's also very good at twisting text. So take what I did and twist it into something that's more structured. And then it can also be good at condensing text and being able to pass it back. And one of the things that we can start to do with Claude Code is we can start to feed it some extra instructions so that we can give it commands. And this is the last thing I'll show you, because then we'll have a little chat about it. So one of the things that Francis had actually introduced me to was the spec kit. And spec kit is not here because I've just reinstalled Claude Code because I did an upgrade on my machine, which is not very helpful. But when you put in this slash, what you're actually doing is you're starting to be able to access an extra set of instructions, and you can start to customize this. So you can start to create instructions for things like generate quality report, and you can start to create your own prompt library where you've actually already done the front work to create instructions that will help it sound more like you, Lisa, right? You can create your kind of like actually write a report as Lisa, and then it will start to produce the outputs that sound like you and are really well structured in that way. I'm going to stop there. It may seem like a lot because it's a different user experience to the consumer products, but it's actually very similar and just a little bit more powerful. It'd be good to get people's questions, thoughts, and have a bit of discussion. Michael, I'm guessing you are familiar with the terminal more than perhaps others on the call as well.
I am. It strikes me that is probably it's the hardest thing to get, I think, for people to adopt. Anything web-based is very graphical and intuitive, and to a degree simplified. I even in my profession, I don't like using terminals. The scope for causing havoc and mayhem is and I've been on the end of that, is one key press away, and then the rest of your day goes downhill. So yeah, from I can see where the power is because it's more detailed and specific, but that would take, even I actually would find I'd have to concentrate quite a bit and understand just how that just is going to work with it. And I think it's purely because of the interactive process, that the way it's retro in respect, quite old school.
It is. Now, I mean, what I was showing there is the kind of interacting directly with Claude Code, and obviously one of the great things is that there are lots of ways that you could create N8N workflows to kick off things in there, and also kind of put other interfaces over the top of it where, you know, you're able to kind of create experiences that are more consumer, but also that once you do kind of see the outputs of it in something like Obsidian, which allows you to kind of have more of a user interface view of what it's producing, that becomes quite a kind of powerful way of using it as well. How about some of the kind of non-terminal users of kind of computers? too far, crazy?
It looks
What
like a
was?
completely different language to me. Yeah. I wouldn't even know where to start with it.
I can really
So-
see value. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
thinking, from my point of view as chief of operations, I can really see how that could really drive our productivity, how it could measure and analyze performance. I mean, it's just a bit mind-blowing, actually, I think. But it does look very techy. I agree with Joe and Michael. I think it looks a little bit. It reminds me of Spectrum 64s back in the day, Hugo. When all that coding used to come up. But yeah, I think it's just a bit mind-blowing at the moment. But I think it's really got a place for the future. It's just the interface looks a bit too technical.
I think that it's one of the hardest things that we're going to see in organizations is this journey of what's possible when people become technologists versus the barriers of becoming technologists. I think is going to be a really important interface for us to kind of lean into and think about. And I'm not suggesting that everyone goes and starts using the terminal. That's many reasons not the right approach, as Michael will definitely.
Oh yes.
But what I think is interesting is that it's useful as a reminder of how much is being taken away from our control when we use someone else's product.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is one of the learnings that is really useful in this space, is that what's possible technically and what's being offered, together with also often a commercial impact of that difference as well.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got less for a higher price versus more for a lower price, with an offset of skill development.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that one of the things that is really interesting as we kind of get into this space is kind of like how we actually balance those things out and how we do the right thing by the people in our organizations to offer them the opportunity to upskill in ways that kind of give them more superpowers.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, a really interesting question to answer. I mean, particularly in kind of organizations where, we have to think kind of carefully about kind of what's being spent and why.
Mm-hmm.
Michael, you look like you had a view on that.
No, I was just while I'm there, I'm not that familiar with Claude. I was just looking at some of the aims of why it was built. It was striking me that it aims to be or to avoid unethical content. I was just trying to process how machine learning model is going to be, how it's going to do that, and what it's going to its value set is going to be to measure something against. And also that it's meant to explain false answers. Something you see in other AI tools is that you can, which you get in the internet in general. If you even from the days of Google search, you search something, you can't trust necessarily everything that comes back. They're just going, the tools are going to trawl all the information sources they have, and they may well produce responses that are not necessarily accurate. But how does it distinguish the truth? How does it know the truth is out there in a sense, and avoid sort of contaminating its answers with what it thinks is an ethical, which is quite a jump for an AI. It's quite a statement to make. That it implies that it's there's some other framework or set of rules behind there. And where does that come from? Who applies that? Who's to say what is unethical and what isn't?
So Anthropic's a really interesting organization. They have a chief philosophy officer. And whilst OpenAI went and kind of got Johnny Ives from the design side, they have instead gone for Rick Rubin as their kind of design guru. So you've kind of got a world of Anthropic organizationally putting people in place who are very different crowd to OpenAI, different leadership philosophy entirely. And we're running out of time in this session, just as you've opened a can of worms of like answer to give to
I'm
some
going
of
to
those
make my
questions.
Skynet t-shirt next session.
But there are lots of sort of product design elements that do provide checks and balances, and there is lots of space still where there is human choice being made as to what answers these systems produce. You know, choosing how you define the parameters of what is being trained on, choosing how you define what guardrails are being put in place, how you're actually kind of tuning and fine tuning the models, and also the ongoing R&D approaches. You know, there are several different branches of research and development, and how you're prioritizing and building a portfolio of investments across what the future looks like. I think they are two very different sort of styles of organization. OpenAI, you know, is one. I think OpenAI is creating a bet on large amounts of money and kind of capturing human attention as a way to monetize that. That's why they're kind of focused on creating sort of social media-esque features. It's why they're kind of like the approach they're taking. And the amounts of money they're asking for investment are like insanely large. So they need to capture insanely large amounts of value to make that in any way a sensible investment. But even Anthropic and OpenAI are only one sort of school of thought, which is a very American sort of let's use loads of energy and kind of create things that are big, sort of American style approach. Whereas the frugal AI movement is like looking at how you actually use minimum resources to produce good results. And there is a whole, you know, there are small language models, so it's not all large language models, and there is a whole range of other models that have nothing to do with language at all that are being used in other disciplines. And I think what I'll end on is that I read an article yesterday that I totally missed when it came out, that the Chinese had created a nuclear-powered battery that can fit inside a mobile phone and last for 50 years, right? And while the cost of nuclear energy from Western science has basically risen in cost over time, so it's like you need more investment and more money, the Chinese had stopped and paused and had a gap, and then they came back with something where they've kind of focused on miniaturizing it and kind of creating a technology where I'm like, why was that not front page news? If you can have a nuclear reactor inside a kind of mobile phone-esque sized thing, that feels like something that is pretty transformational as it grows. And I think that just defines these different approaches that can be taken and what outcomes happen off the back of them. One of the things that I would encourage is strategically to remember that unless you own your AI, you're not aligned with it. And so from a sort of organizational point of view, really having a plan to be able to migrate to something that is that kind of something that we have full alignment with is really important, because the economics are going to change, as well as you know, all of the political and other factors related to AI, that there needs to be a plan to have digital self-sovereignty in place to ensure that you're not being, well, in fact, you've just seen it with Microsoft for AstraZeneca, haven't you? You've just seen them hike up prices because they no longer care about charities, right? Things change, and unless there's a plan to kind of say, actually, we actually own all of this, this is going to be technology that's really powerful, can fundamentally reshape work, and therefore becomes even more important that there is that in place, which Michael, I appreciate is not necessarily kind of what we would have wanted from a pure operational stance. So, you know, I'm not saying that lightly and thinking there's no work involved in that. I'm just pull that out straight away.
Yeah.
Sangeetha, anything that you picked up from it just before we wrap up?
No, this N8N is still doing my mind. And today's session was also a bit too technical for me with Claude Code.
Too technical. Too technical in the sense of I wouldn't use it, or I don't see the value of it.
I wouldn't use it. I'm sure there's value. It's unlikely that I will personally be using it.
Interesting.
But I don't know. It's premature to say. Who knows?
So one of the things I'd love you all to reflect on is what would need to be true for you to use it. And this is actually something I'm trying to understand, so I can kind of understand where this line is. And if you could just spend some time reflecting on that over the next week, and just when you have any thoughts, drop them to me. I'll be really interested, because I think it's both totally acceptable, and I'm intrigued as to, is there a path that I could create that would change that or not? And that's a really interesting space. Awesome. Well, have fantastic Tuesdays. Thank you all for your energy and enthusiasm this morning.
Thank you.
See
you later. Bye.
Bye.